My friends, it has, believe it or not, been 6 months since we moved into our off-grid property and started building our homestead. And with the introduction of 2025 and the conclusion of 2024, it seems appropriate to do some reflection and talk about the 5 biggest things that we learned going through this experience for the first 6 months, and talk about what we did well, what we didn't do well, and kind of go from there. The plan is to use these reflections as a foundation for launching into success in the future as we continue in the next year to build this homestead out. And I think in addition to that, these experiences and these lessons are totally applicable outside of just this type of experience. It is great life experience just to take the lessons that you've learned and be able to apply them in general, but these specific categories that we're going to talk about seem to be applicable to more than just building an off-grid homestead, more than just living off-grid. It's kind of things that you can use in the life of being more self-sufficient, in the life of becoming more secure in who you are, and in the life of being a human that can show up and be kind. And hopefully these experiences can give you something to help you move forward in 2025, doing what you love in a way that you can feel good about doing it. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these 5 lessons, and tell me what lessons you've learned in the last year so that we can all grow together and have a great 2025. The first lesson we quickly realized is that procrastination serves absolutely no one. There's always something. There's always something to do, which is the good and the bad news. Not starting just because you don't know where exactly to start just leads to more overwhelm and less getting done and a more stressful experience for your overall day-to-day life. So just starting allows you to just really kind of sleep easier at night, knowing that you did something, like anything. It's good. It feels good. So just start. And in order to continue to feel accomplished, feel like you're doing something, you have to balance the daily tasks with the big projects. For example, we have to balance doing laundry with clearing the land, making it more fire safe during the winter. We have to balance doing the dishes with building workshops. Both of those things require your attention. Both of them are equally important, and the best way to really honor your time by accomplishing both of these categories of tasks, it requires you to schedule. And if it works for you to either do a little bit of both each day, or maybe focus on one area one day and then one area on another day, find what works for you and just pick a schedule and make it happen, because otherwise you get too focused on one of the categories, you let one of them go, and then you're stressing out either way. And the whole point of lack of procrastination is to lower the amount of stress that you're creating in your own life when you have a lot on your plate. There's 2 things that really matter when it comes to scheduling your daily tasks and projects out that I had to learn specifically when it comes to this kind of project, and that is that you have to schedule rest into your life. You have to choose to schedule your ability to reset so that you can keep going. Because if you don't schedule it in, when you try to rest because your body is just telling you more than anything that that's what it needs, it becomes a guilt trip, and you don't really get to honor the time of rest that you need to honor so that you can be ready to go to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish next. Additionally, when you're making your schedule, go into it with the understanding that the things that you write down are going to take longer than you anticipated. Having a little flexibility with your task list and understanding that you just are going to do everything you can with the time that you have gives you the space that you need to say, I still am working within the framework of what I anticipated, and I knew that it was going to be something that had to be adjustable. This wood-fired bathtub behind me took way longer than I thought it was going to take. I had to reconfigure it a couple times because it wasn't getting enough air for wood. It's okay. So allow a little flexibility into your schedule, knowing that things are going to take a little longer than you anticipated. The second major lesson of building an off-grid homestead in the last 5 months that has really come to both mine and Brandon's attention is that more tools don't necessarily mean an easier job. Tools have really come a long way when you think about where we started as humanity, and it's really amazing to look at how a few creative minds have solved a lot of problems and made people's lives more efficient with the use of certain tools. And I am extremely grateful for a lot of tools that we do have. But tools require maintenance. And having the time to maintain the tools that you think you need to accomplish the task means that you're going to have to commit more time to maintaining the tools that you do acquire, which can distract you from really accomplishing the task at hand in the first place. It also requires a financial investment. A lot of tools nowadays are not cheap, and if you want to get high quality tools that are going to last you a long time, you're going to have to understand that you're trading your money to acquire these tools. That's something that you put effort into, and now you have to use that money for the tool. And then that money goes into maintaining the tool as well. The tools are not just a buy one thing and get this project done. It's really easy to get caught in that mindset trap of, I need this tool to accomplish this task. But the truth is that Rome and other massive empires were built with the hands of humans just like us and some tools. And they weren't power tools. If they can do that, there's a chance that you can use a little creative thinking and what you already have to accomplish whatever task you're looking for. A good example is I've got a battery charger right here. And right now we need a new battery for our well generator, but we just haven't been able to allocate like that little part of the budget yet to get a new battery so we can start on its own. But I have this charger and it has a boost option, and I've got my little handy dandy briefcase. So just for right now, we get to jumpstart the well generator every couple of weeks when we have to turn it on, which is only every couple of weeks. And it still accomplishes the fact that I get to refill the tank on the motorhome with water, and I don't have to go spend $200 or $300 on a battery right now. So unless the tool can be used for at least 5 projects, it's not worth buying. Like, one of the best investments that we've made is our skid steer. We have a lot of road work that needs to get done. We've leveled some pads on the property already. There's been things that we couldn't lift that the skid steer was able to lift. And that was a major investment for us, and it was worth it because we've used it on countless projects. On the other hand, something like the ball joint press that we got to change the ball joints on our car that don't really have other uses other than that, probably not the wisest investment. Eventually, we're going to realize that we probably traded our time and money for something that could have been rented, could have been maybe borrowed from somebody I don't know, online. I'm sure there's like borrow groups or whatever for tools. That specific task could have been outsourced to another individual that does lots of ball joint replacements. So thinking about the asset of tool acquisition means that we really need to think about, can I accomplish this task with what I already have in creative thinking? And is this tool that I'm choosing to acquire going to serve me for more than one purpose? And how much maintenance is this tool going to require? And does that maintenance time still pay off in the long run for the projects that I will be able to accomplish for acquiring said tool? The third big lesson that really came to heart fully this year was that people aren't going to understand what you're going through, but it doesn't mean that they don't care. It's been my experience so far that people that have really played an active role in our life really do care about our well-being, and they have a lot to say when you tell them what's going on in the experience of this build. And while they are very smart, intelligent people and their words are super valuable, they aren't the ones with their feet on the ground, and you have to honestly weigh their words with your personal experience to decide if that's what's best for you. And I love and appreciate everybody that's been invested into this process, and I hope that they know that I'm grateful that they care, but I've got to do this my way, and I've got to make the mistakes that I need to make. And I'm not trying to make mistakes blindly, but I will take everything that someone has to say into consideration and honestly weigh it with the reality of all the other things that are going on in our lives that they don't necessarily know about. In addition to that experience, we quickly found that trying to describe the progress on the property can be very difficult to quantify and put into measurable terms for people to understand. And when people ask about the property, it kind of turns into one of those things where it looks like nothing is getting done for like 3/4 of the project, and then all of a sudden it's finished, or like 90% done. It helps when you can use a finalized, finished vocabulary around something for people to understand that you're making progress, and all the steps in between, they're not really gonna get it. The thing that I really had to take away from this is that progress that I am able to display to others does not equal the value of me as an individual or define my worth in any way. Being a person that quantifies their worth through their accomplishments is a wonderful hindrance that allows us to be contributing members of society, but that can be really harmful to our mental health. So for me this year, that was kind of the way that it showed up. It shows up in new ways every year, and it's an opportunity every year for me to heal and remind myself, like, hey, my worth isn't tied to my progress, and my worth isn't tied to my accomplishments, and neither is yours. And that really felt like a moment for me to put an old wound into a new situation and say, like, okay, how do I learn how to really love myself deeper and better than I was originally doing? When it comes to having a conversation with those that you care about the progress, something that has really been realized for me this year is that some things are just your own business, and that's okay too. That's a delicate balance, and it's very difficult in all social situations for me, especially to learn what an appropriate filter looks like. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best at that, but just let some things be your own business. That's all I have to say. Lesson number 4. There are gonna be days that just suck. Everybody has bad days, and when you are in an off-grid setting, something happening that you didn't anticipate can literally throw your entire day off track. If you have something along the lines of a tree falling in your road, maybe a tree falling on your solar shed, maybe something happens to your well, maybe, somebody gets sick or hurt. You have to be so extra flexible and just handle things as they come. And that's true with any situation. I just think that in an off-grid space, the survival nature of these incidents taking place kind of increases your perceived stress level when you are going through the experience itself. And the really important thing to consider when your stress level goes high is that it is still my responsibility to be kind, be considerate and compassionate, communicate effectively, and continue to have gratitude so that I can get through whatever obstacle is taking place. I'm not completely guided by my emotions, and the problem gets solved without creating more problems. And it's continuing to build me up to be the kind of person that I want to be and show up as. And that is a kind, caring, compassionate, resilient, and grateful human, because I know that that's the way that I enjoy life most. So taking into consideration that some days are just gonna suck, and knowing that you have the tools already available to you to just be resilient when you go through those moments, and being extra cautious of your mental attitude that day and how you're working with others, it just gives you the ability to see through those challenges and create a solution quickly. The final and most important lesson in the last 6 months that I have really embodied is I've learned to stay humble and keep on trucking. One can be quite resilient when we think about just putting your head down and getting to work. You think about resiliency, but resiliency doesn't encompass the humility that is required to fail. And to get up again after you failed is really where the humbleness comes in. It is inevitable. You're going to fail. If you're trying something new, you're going to fail. If it's a project that you're working on, there's going to be failures involved. And being able to be open and talk about those failures is equally important, because that builds community and it helps people feel like they can get up and keep going too. But it also gets your own ego out of the way and says, you know what? I failed and I can still try again. And that's a really difficult experience. I'm grateful to continue to get practice in this process. It's going to be continual, obviously. But I have been able to apply it to more than just building a homestead out. And the more practice, the better, as long as you can sneak some wins in here and there and, be able to say, I don't always fail. Sometimes I get things right. Here's the long story short of it. Doing a project like this exacerbates life lessons. They're not lessons that you can take just specifically from this experience, but living this way and taking on something that is an extension of something greater than you would imagine that you would be capable of, it creates a process in which you really learn a lot. And so at the end of the day, whatever you're doing and whatever project you're working on, these lessons will work for you. It's not just for homesteading, but I hope that whatever you did get from this does help you in the long run, and I'd love to hear what you took away from it, or if you have any other tips going forward.